I think we really need to start exploring the ideology of a third gender. And I don't mean this to be hateful or transphobic. I do believe that trans people deserve rights and safe spaces, but we need to start really accepting the ideology that cisgender women and trans women live fundamentally different realities and we cannot categorically be in the same category. The concept of gender is not a spectrum of personal identity. It is a hierarchy system of control built on the biological reality of sex. The category of woman is a political class consisting of people who have been assigned female at birth and socialized under this system of subjugation from birth. Recognizing this is essential to protecting the rights and spaces of females without denying trans people dignity and respect and safety. We have to accept the fact that gender is a social construct used as a tool for control. Gender is a biological reality built upon a system of control, not just an identity issue. Women are only women because patriarchy wishes to control the female body and subjugate it. Otherwise, we would simply just be female, assigning a look, a behavior, and a role to femaleness transforms it from a biological state into a system of control, a political class. And a woman is an adult human who is female. As a result of being assigned female at birth, was socialized in the subordinate class of women under patriarchy at birth. This is a materialist definition. It is the observed reality of biology and then the social reality that follows based off of treatment. Trans women were not born into the subjugated political class of women. They were born into the dominant class of man and then later transitioned. This experience of being a part of a both physically and socially dominant class, no matter how briefly or how alienated you feel from it, does not change the fact that it is a fundamentally different experience being socialized into the subjugated class from birth. This is an unbridgeable divide in lived experiences, right? It is not a matter of identity. So when we're talking about intimate spaces like locker rooms and bathrooms, those spaces exist for the subordinate class of women to have privacy and protection from the dominant class of men. The male body, which is the primary instrument for patriarchal control and potential violence. And inclusionary policies that ignore that reality violate the foundational purposes of those spaces. And it goes for the same concept of sports. Women's sports were created to allow the biologically subjugated class to have a fair chance at participation or whatever, away from the biologically advantaged class of men. Allowing biological males to compete in those categories defeats the purpose of their creation. When trans women make claims about biological experiences like menstruation, it erases the material reality of the female body. The female's body reproductive capabilities is the primary reason for our subjugation. To have a man-made identity override the biological reality is the ultimate expression of that control over the female state of being. So the solution is not to force the subjugated political class of women to redefine itself to include the dominant class of males, but to be honest and state the fact that trans women are not women by this materially observed reality. They are people who have transitioned from the male to female gender role. Their experience is unique and valid, but it is not the same. It's categorically different, and that is why it should be a third gender. So that trans people do not infringe upon the protections and rights of females. This is not segregation, right? This is a logical separation based on our completely different material realities. Trans women who insist that they are the same as women and belong in the same social class as women are erasing the material reality of people born female, repurposing our struggles for their own selfish needs. Passing is not proof that you are a woman. You are simply proving that you can perform the aesthetics of womanhood. Your experience of womanhood is aesthetic and social, not biological. This performance is an adoption, not an inheritance. You chose to take on the role of the social class that was subjugated. You once had access to the dominant class. That is not something that people assigned female at birth can relate to. A cis woman has never had that choice, therefore making trans women and cis women fundamentally different experiences. They can quite literally never be the same because you used to be part of a dominant class. Gender and race are so extremely similar because they are based upon foundational reality that is assigned to you at birth. Anyways, I said all that to say that we really need to start exploring the concept of a third gender, because fundamentally, trans women and cis women cannot exist within the same category if we wish to protect the rights of cisgender women. Hello, you guys. Welcome back. I'm going to apologize in advance for how raw and unedited this video is going to be because I suck at YouTube, and I'm not going to lie, I hate editing. I hate everything about this fucking platform, but I am trying to be great over here because y'all know I'm a TikTok girly. Anyways, let's just get into it. So, I'm sure that y'all have all seen the video about the GOLDS gym situation and the transgender person in the bathroom and the black girl Tish feeling like, you know, her space is being infringed upon. And I think it's very like high time that we have a serious conversation about the trans community and stop tiptoeing around the conversation, because I feel like the more silent that women are about it, the more likely our rights are to be overridden and overlooked in favor of trans people. So if you watch the beginning of this video, you already know exactly how I feel. Gender is a social reality based off of biological control, right? Women are only women because we have vaginas, and patriarchy seeks to control our sexual capacity, right? They want to subjugate women because of our biological anatomy. That's it. That's all. Without that concept, women would not be women. We would simply just be females. And so what trans women need to realize, right? And I mean this not from a place of hate, but from a place of where we need to start becoming understanding if trans women really want to be allies with biological women. Women live in a state of subjugation, right? We are subjugated under patriarchy, and our titles of women are simply existent to keep us in control and in the grasp of patriarchy. The way we're supposed to dress, the way we're supposed to act, the way we're supposed to be nurturing and caring are all only existent under the role of women. So when you, as a biological male, transition into a woman, all that you are doing is giving up your power from the dominant class to be a part of the subjugated class. But you yourself are still more powerful than women. You can never actually relate to women. I feel like the conversation that I always hear from trans people about how women dress, about how we behave, about how we act, and how they do gender better than us is all rooted in misogyny, because they are, at the end of the day, still socialized to be men. Your prime socialization years, which is 1 through 7, for the average trans person was that of a man. So even if you never related to men or you felt isolated from males, your primary socialization was still that of malehood. And so whatever biases or understanding that you have about women have always came from the dominant class. not the subjugated class. You will never know what it's like to be a part of the subjugated class. I think people forget that gender is political. Gender has always been political, and it only exists under a political concept. That's it. That's all. I mean, I feel like that's so hard for the average person to understand, but it is the truth. I feel like the rhetoric is extremely harmful. Like, especially from people like T.S. Madison and Cherry the Boom and Dominique. Like, those three trans people are so toxic to not only the trans community, but the biological woman community as well. They do not like us, and their whole goal is to get trans people not to like us as well. And so I feel like they're starting a gender war. But that's really neither here and there. But I just feel like we need to watch out for them people, and whatever criticisms that anybody has against those people are valid, because they, like, I know a lot of trans people, but them three people, I would never listen to anything that come out their mouths. Not only are they liars, they're scammers, they're cheats. They need to be handled, really and truly. But yeah, like, I don't know, like, it's getting to the point where I'm a little, I'm not saying I'm afraid, but I feel like we need to be wary, because no shade, I don't want to share, I don't want to share intimate spaces with most trans people. I'm not going to say all trans people, because, you know, I have personal trans friends who I wouldn't mind being like naked around or half naked, but that's because I know them, right? But I'm never going to feel like threatened by another naked woman, you know what I'm saying? But I don't want to see any male genitalia in a bathroom or in a locker room, or any male physique forms, period, right? Even if a woman is stronger than me, she's buffer than me, she has a male-like physique, whatever you want to call it, I'm not going to be afraid of another woman, just because she's strong and buff or whatever. That is not the threat when dealing with a stronger woman, when you're thinking about like being afraid of a man. What women are afraid of is the percussion of sexual violence, really and truly. That's why we have separate bathrooms, right? Bathrooms are not based off of gender. Bathrooms are based off of sex, right? We need privacy from the male body, not just from the gender of being man. It's so much deeper than that. And I just think, like, also, like, it's just becoming a lot. That's just how I feel. Like, it's just becoming a lot. I came in hot and heavy with this conversation, and now I'm kind of like calming down. But I don't know, y'all. I think we live in a strange, like, time in society, and we really need to start thinking about trans people being a third gender. Yeah, that's what I think. I think we really need to start thinking about a third gender, because gender, like I've said, is a social construct. Even though sex is binary, gender could be anything. We could create gender. We could create infinite gender roles. It doesn't just have to be man protect and provide and women nurture and care. We really could have several. We could split up all of those roles among 7 or 8 genders. So when you think about sex or gender as the social reality of biology that's used to control people, right? Because gender is used to control both men and women, if we're being honest, right? It's used to subjugate the female reproductive system, but it's also used to turn the male class into sex slaves, right? And women being so delusional, well, white women, because black women have always had to work. Let's be serious about that. Black women have always had to work. So white women have been fighting to be a part of the male class for so long, which is why I think white women fight so hard for trans people to be women. I think no one fights harder than them for trans people to be considered women, or trans women to be considered women, than white women, because white women have been fighting basically their whole existence to have the same rights and privileges as men, instead of to abolish the constructs of society itself, Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, white women desire power, which makes sense because they're white, right? Whiteness is a power structure. So of course, white women want access to that power structure. And that's kind of another conversation for another day, but it's relevant, right? So because of that fight, right? Because of that power dynamic, the things that they ask for, like jobs, the vote, like not to say those are bad things, but they just want to be a part of that dominant class of men, right? Who can assert their power over others instead of being a part of the subjugated class. When in reality, we should be abolishing the classes altogether. And I can't remember why I brought that up, but that's why I'm saying a third gender would make more sense, or no gender at all, because we don't really need gender, right? Gender, the only purpose that gender serves in society is to control people and put limitations on sexes and what sexes can do and what's appropriate for sexes to do. But men have been upholding this system forever. I think we both have, if I'm being honest. I feel like putting all the blame on men is actually starting to get old, and I'm starting to see it for what it actually is. But we have been upholding the system of gender where men have to provide and protect, and a real man doesn't do this, a real man doesn't have emotions. And this is really where the male loneliness epidemic and like male depression and, you know, men being unhappy in the workforce and feeling like cogs in a machine and all of these different things really like come from. The same with like women feeling like they're doing more emotional labor and they're doing more housework and they're taking care of the kids by themselves even when they're married. Like, all of this comes from gender. Gender is really actually the problem. Gender is a problem. And it never occurred to me until like I started really thinking about what gender is and why gender exists. But gender is another form of social control, because without it, we would just be male and female. We don't need gender roles unless we seek to control people. And what we're witnessing in society right now, right? The gender wars or whatever, it actually makes sense because both sides are getting sick of the gender that they are in, right? So yeah, if men are sick of providing and women are sick of nurturing and caring, and we're all sick of fucking working, why aren't we working harder to abolish this system? It seems like we're all like upholding the parts of the system that we like, and then like pointing the finger at the other gender for not accomplishing or like appropriating the roles that we see beneficial to ourselves, right? Like, women say they hate patriarchy, but they work so hard towards like finding a provider male, right? Why are there no men who want to wine and dine or provide and take care of women? Like, that is still upholding patriarchy. Whether you want to believe that or accept that or not, that is still upholding patriarchy, because that's gender roles. Like, gender role is the issue. The same with men. Oh, like, I want a subservient woman and this, that, and the third, but at the same time, they don't want to do the providing. Like, they don't want a stay-at-home wife. They still want a wife that works. At the end of the day, we're all, well, y'all, because I don't know what I want. I do know what I want, but it don't have nothing to do with gender roles and providing and all that blah, 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 blah. But everybody is upholding the system, including trans people, rounding back the conversation to what we were originally talking about, including trans people who try to force themselves to fit into a binary system of gender, even though they know that it doesn't make sense because gender was never meant to be binary and it's a system of control. So yeah, I don't want to make this video too long. I think I said what I said, meant what I said, and I think the first part of the video kind of covers everything. But yeah, like, I think we all just need to kind of like really start thinking about these things and start thinking about the concept of a third gender or abolishing gender altogether. But at the end of the day, trans women are not women. I know that hurts for a lot, but I think that to an extent, if we don't start saying that, what we're really supporting in trans people is a delusion. And I've noticed that trans women become violent and angry when you suggest that. You were born a biological man. You can't be out here trying to fight women. You can't be out here trying to put your hands on the biologically weaker gender because you're mad that they won't accept your personal reality. And I've noticed that a lot of women, I believe, can't say for sure, are just going along with that because they are afraid. They are afraid of backlash. They are afraid of getting canceled, and they are physically afraid of the anger, the psychological repercussions of triggering a person's trans issues, right? So yeah, I hope that this didn't hurt any feelings. This wasn't meant to hurt any feelings, but it was meant to spark a conversation about, for one, the purpose of gender, if it really serves a purpose, if we should really, should we even continue to go by gender? Do we need gender? And if we do need gender, we definitely need a third gender for people who were born biologically different, because they are not living the same reality as the rest of us who were born in our assigned sex and with our gender that matches. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. I am done editing YouTube videos. I swear to God, I can't do it anymore. I feel like trapped in a world that I fucking hate, which is why I make TikToks anyways, because I don't edit my TikToks for shit. I think editing is a form of oppression from the old paradigm where everything has to be perfect, and the only way that you get attention is through being this perfect media version of yourself. I'm just so sick of it. So I'm sorry if y'all were expecting this video to be edited. I can't do it anymore. I hope you guys enjoyed these videos. If not, it was nice talking to you.